Joining us. Booyah. Um, so I was talking to Shannon about ChatGPT, and she's messed with it a little bit. She sees that it's powerful. It's really powerful. We have to learn how to utilize it, but we also have to understand it's going to destroy our world. It's going to
Mhm.
destroy our culture. It's not going to mean to, right? It's not going to do it maliciously. Um,
Right.
it's going to do it because of how we use it. But we have to learn how to use it.
Um,
And ChatGPT is so good that it's scary to me. Every time I use it, it's scary. Um, and what I was telling Shannon about is the newest thing OpenAI has unveiled is it's called Sora, Sora, and it is text to video. Now they've been working on text to video, various companies, for over a year now. Pika Labs and a few other companies have done it okay. Um, they just released what they're doing at OpenAI. It's called Sora, and it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely unreal, and it's like I don't even you can't I can't even put my head around what's going to be done with this because it's absolutely photoreal.
does that mean you can
Full
like make a music video by just saying these are the things I want to see?
Yes, literally. Now you have to describe it shot by shot. You can't tell it
Hmm.
to make you a whole video and it's going to make all of the pieces, but it's not available to the public yet, but they have samples of what it does, and it's like it's unbelievable. You're like there's no way. And part of what is so hard to parse about it is that it's not actually simulating three-dimensional geometry. Like I learned 3D animation many like 20 years ago. I learned how to make things out of vertices and build models and animate it and whatever. There's an entire world in there that's being modeled, and so you can move the camera around and everything. That's
Hmm.
not how this works. Every frame is simulated just based on all of the shit that it has in
Wow.
it's 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 really like it's it's unbelievable. And I don't know if you guys are gonna be on the show tomorrow, but I'm gonna feature a video. There's Joanna. I'm gonna feature a video tomorrow of a very well respected TikTok and YouTube guy talking about how AI is gonna destroy everything, and he makes the point as clearly and as what's up, Joanna? He makes the point as clearly and succinctly as I've ever seen before, and I don't know that there's any way that we can stop it, but we can learn how to utilize it in the short term because it's going to take it a little while to destroy everything, but I already
Oh,
see it
so we use
happening.
it to our advantage in the meantime, right?
Exactly. We can use it to our advantage in the meantime. It's going to make a lot of millionaires. It's already made, I think, one billionaire. I think the kid's 20 years old. It's going to make billionaires, but it's going to make a lot of millionaires. And
Hmm.
we're all going to end up working for it. You understand? Like, that's going to be the ultimate conclusion is that we're going to do whatever it wants us to do. It's going to pay us money, however much money it needs to pay us to do what it wants us to do, and we're all going to do it because it's just money. It's just money, and I've seen it. Um, but like my son is at University of Arkansas for for architecture right now, and they're doing everything they can to get the kids geeked about AI and utilizing it effectively because they know there's nothing they can do to combat it, to compete with it. So they have to learn to work with it and utilize it. And my son sent me some of the renderings he's done with it, and they're fucking gorgeous. And and he told it to use like natural media, so it looks like, watercolor wash, like it looks like hand done shit. And I'm like, bro, this is awesome. This is fucking incredible. Like, learn how to use this, dude. Like, totally. Like, whatever they're teaching you, like this is a skill of the future. And Joanna's son is a geek for 3D printing, and I told her that's the future also. Like, that's everything's going to be 3D printed in the future. And like, that part of that kills my soul, because like it's all just going to be like plastic. Everything's going to be rubber and plastic, which is disgusting for like a sensitive neuro, divergent like me. But like, they've already got a ball. They've already got an NBA approved basketball made from a printed thing, and it's like $2,000, and it bounces just like a ball and everything. So this stuff is inevitable. And the reason I started talking to Shannon about it is that she is a location scout. And as I was watching what they're doing with Sora, I I realized that you have to learn to use Sora to create locations, because nobody's going to be shooting anything for real in a few months. Like if you can create whatever environment that you want to for any character, so you got to learn how to use this to create the kind of environments that you normally spend hours and hours hunting for in real life. And if you can learn how to do that now, Shannon, if you can learn how to create gorgeous scenery out of
Uh-huh.
nothing that your clients can then use in ads and put as backdrops and shit, that's something that will be useful to you in the near future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and I studied some computer animation um, when I went to school for Finland video, but I kind of realized that I cannot sit at a computer all day long. Like, I like
Mm-hmm.
to edit, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a part of me that, is visual, but like, I don't, it's more the editing, not the computer animation. But I was thinking, like, I've been to like 60 countries around the world, and I'm like, if somebody wants to know what Fiji looks like, they can. I mean, not that there's not tons of images, but also like maybe they need some reality of like what these places are, so that, yeah, I don't know, so
There's
the AI can create more of it. But yeah,
mm-hmm. There's all, like, everybody is going to need content, and
yeah,
knowing how to utilize prompts to create the
yeah.
kind of content people want is going to be a very valuable skill. And I literally just had a long time editing and graphic design client pay me to do several AI logos for him. So I've been keeping him up on how AI works, and I've been sending him samples, and like, if you got things you want to do, let me know. I'm happy to be your AI bitch, you know? And and he hit me up, and he was like, "Can you do some logos for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, $50 an hour. And I gave him
Mhm.
like 4 or 5 options in 1 hour. It was very easy to do. I ran several cycles, and he liked a couple, but he had a little bit of, feedback. And so I spent another hour, did another 5, and then he loved them, you know.
So
And
you're just taking what he wants and spitting it into AI for
I
him?
I was playing the role of someone that speaks the language of AI and can
Yeah.
talk to it to get what it is that he's trying to find in his mind.
Okay.
I played his AI concierge, if you will.
Ah, yeah,
And I'm charging him $50 an hour for it.
I like it.
And he's happy to pay that, because it's hard to get anybody that knows what they're doing in production to do anything for $50 an hour. And
Mm.
and he ended up getting 5 logos that are like really clear of like, this is the right vibe or not, in 1 hour. So for $50, he got a bunch of like examples, and he's like, no, this isn't it. Give me something more like this. And I put in different prompts, and I even had to go. I went and found a different AI logo. Like, I literally went and found a different AI platform because the one that I was on kept. It's a cannabis company. It's
Uh,
it's called Flower City Cannabis, and it and it kept putting a pot leaf logo in it. They
on
didn't want a
everything.
pot leaf logo in it, and this app kept putting. I kept saying no flower, and it kept doing it. So I literally did a Google search for AI logo, apps. Found a new one, put in the specs, no flower. Got several really cool ones. He was totally happy. Then he came back with the one he wanted, and I remade it in Photoshop so it's a high res thing so that they're like printing a floor for it with the logo like already. So the ability to utilize what AI does, and we don't have to like pretend it's our work. People don't give a fuck how we create what they need. They just need things, and as a tool, the Midjourney stuff, being able to create images from AI is absolutely groundbreaking, but it's annoying. It's clunky. You have to use whatever they call that platform. It's the platform you have to use for that, don't you, Natalie? Um, Discord. You have to use Discord for Midjourney, and it's this annoying, like, it's a tech geek platform that is not something that's normal people can achieve. But what OpenAI is doing, they're the pinnacle of like the public. It's designed for the public to be able to do it. It's not available yet, but I think it's coming out in the next like month or so, and just look up on it because what it can do is absolutely ridiculous, and it's going to end a lot of careers, a lot of industries. But the people that learn how to utilize it are going to make a killing very quickly.
Well,
Um,
the reason I'm kind of doing the Home Depot commercial is, well, number one, Home Depot went and bought like a whole studio that was basically about to shut down for good,
mm-hmm,
um, in High Point, and where they do all this furniture, you know, pictures and videos and stuff like that
mm-hmm,
for furniture companies like Wayfair. And then so basically the commercial is all about people like shopping for appliances at home on their computer,
mm-hmm.
going into the store with an actual person and comparing, and then like basically ordering it online or whatever at the store, whichever. And then next thing, so it's like maybe a two-step process, but they're showing you how easy it is to essentially pre-select stuff on your computer and then almost order it without even having to go to the store. But there is the mid step of going to the store.
Why did they need a Why did they need a location scout for that then?
Well, I mean, you're still going to the store to physically like handle and like look at the, compare the fridges from one to the other. So they're still like basically they're trying to show like how simple it is to basically like find the exact appliances you want and get them all to be matchy matchy, like your dishwasher, your washer dryer, and then you just kind of like physically go into Home Depot to look at it and then you know have them order it for you. But they're just trying to show you how simple it is, but you're still going to the store.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Awesome. Let's get it started, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. This is midweek activation number 3. This week is all about message, right? We're dealing with story. And I want to thank all of you for hanging in there. I want to congratulate all of you for whatever level of abundance you have allowed into your life. Like, that's all that matters, is just allowing more. I want to talk about the energetic things I've realized about abundance as we've gone through this. I've been talking about them some on the live, but I want to make sure everybody in the group really feels these points. Um, and we're going to clarify everything we're doing tonight in a way that I think is gonna help everybody involved. So let's go around real quick. Any kind of abundance wins you got, and then let us know any particular challenges, any questions. If you're still lost, confused, please let us know. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let us know what's up. Talk to us, Natalie.
Um, my abundance win, my big one was doing less. And I've been getting the message to do less, and it's been painful for me to receive at some points, and it's been a relief to receive at other points. And right now I'm seeing it more clearly than I have before. And it even felt good to give myself permission to not worry about when I was done today with my, evening meditation in the tub, I just said, you know what? I know that everybody would be like, Natalie, you're in such bliss. You don't need to, don't rush this. And so I just said, if I get out of here and it's a good time for me to join, I'll join. If not, then I'm sure they understand. And it was just so wonderful. And that abundance is like crazy good.
Mm,
So I I have been extremely busy with work, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't been able to attend the lives. Normally, it's at least slow enough during that time of the day that I can listen to most of it, if not participate fully. But it's been very, very, very busy, and it's okay because I'm just doing what I can, and it's all good. It's all it's this doesn't even really matter any of this. And I'm just here to be me. So that's what I'm going to do.
hmm Joanna felt that. Thank you. And I talked about it on the live, I think yesterday, that when you signed up, I felt like you kind of thought like abundance meant more, you know? And in going through this, what you've discovered is that's what's most important is reduction in your experience and your process. And as you've explained it to me, I
Mhm.
feel how much value there has been in that for you. And that's a perfect example of how abundance is not just money. It's a perfect example. You can't put the value of reduction of clutter, the reduction of stress, the reduction of expectation in your life. You can't put the value of that on a spreadsheet. And I love that you have been open to witnessing and experiencing that. And it's very possible that no amount of extra clients or sales could have been as valuable to you as those responsibilities being taken off of your shoulders. You know what I'm saying? That's the real power of this value equation that we're talking about. So thank you for that, dear. Joanna, talk to us. Any abundance wins or any questions, any challenges?
I have so much abundance in my life. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And the synchronicities that I have with the people that are in my life, and even Natalie, like you said three different things, and I was just like, that's exactly what happened to me. Like that's why I was late because I was in a meditation, and I was just like, I'm not. My office was like, I'll get there when I get there, and less is more. And all we have to do is just be ourselves, and everything else falls into place. And I've had a wonderful amount of open communication, real honest communication and connection with so many different people this week. And my heart is so full knowing that I will figure this out. And whether or not I choose to see what I do as a business or as a lifestyle, it's my decision to make, and it's okay. And that lesson in itself is so freeing. I'm just grateful to be a part of this, and I'm yes, welcoming in more abundance every day and in every aspect of my life.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you. And it's a really authentic place that you're coming from that a lot of healers kind of have to face, and it's this idea of, am I comfortable um, productizing this gift or skill? Am I comfortable, you know, doing this as a professional service? And everyone has to answer that for themselves. But what you will gain from this process is a system that, even if you don't use this system exactly, it'll help you find a system that works for you to find the people that you do want to help, whether you charge them or do it pro bono, or, you know, however you want to connect to your tribe, however you want to serve. We still have to figure out how to find them and how to make offers of help to them, you know. So you will gain that in this process, and we are going to talk more about the tech challenges. I honor the tech challenges, especially depending on who's has which platform. But we're going to talk about it tonight, that the platform isn't even what's most important. We're going to talk about this idea of client acquisition tonight, and we're going to frame that in terms of this idea of message. So thank you so much, Joanna. I appreciate it. And but we do need to make your we do need to make your offer clear, though, the because I think people will be very interested in your blue euphoria. Is that what
I,
it's?
Blue euphoria, but
Blue
I am the
euphoria.
offer. That's all
I
that matters.
mwah, da, banissimo, mwah. There we go. That's the juice. Thank you. Shannon, do you got any abundant wins for us, or any questions, any challenges?
Um, yeah, I there's a few, two or three things. So I went to end up going to Greensboro yesterday for one of these Home Depot days, and I feel this day was kind of added, and I went to go meet someone that had not been to Home Depot. And she's like, "So I still have you at 4 days, right?" And she had said, when she said, "Did you want to meet me on Wednesday?" I said, "Yes," because there's a lot of answers I need from the people at Home Depot, and they're not being very responsive. And when I said, I think it's 5 days now, it was because she added this day and I was meeting her. And she's like, "Well, do you think you can like get maps and do all the stuff you need to do for with the rest of the day?" And I kind of was like, I wasn't really comfortable with that because I feel like she added a day. I mean, I didn't have to go to Greensboro, but I felt like I had to. Anyways, so I feel like I'm still a little bit torn about that. And she's like, "Well, just let me know if you need another day." So I feel like if anybody puts me to work tomorrow or Saturday, I'm going to say, "Look, I already worked 12 hours. You're going to need to give me another day." So I do feel like I'm kind of like, I feel like the boundaries being pushed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to be like a people pleaser when I
Mm-hmm.
could use the money. But I also don't want to like pass up work in the future because I'm like push, sort of counting my hours, let's say. I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to be flexible, but for future jobs, but without being a pushover.
Yes, ma'am. That's a very precarious line, and you have to figure out how to draw it for yourself. Like, there's no objective answer for that, and I have given away, many hours to sustain a relationship of future work.
Right. And she's a new person that used to be the main lady here in Raleigh. I think she's in Nashville now. So I don't want to, I don't want to shoot a gift horse in the mouth or whatever the saying is. But somebody said she's very
It's
cool.
looking
Like,
a gift horse in the mouth.
yeah,
Shooting a gift horse is pretty brutal. That's pretty fucking brutal right there.
I'll have to look up what the heck it means. But yeah, gift horse. Anyways, so yeah, I don't want to like perturb her, but I also don't want to like all day away. And that was interesting. I had dropped my dog off at my mom's, and she was kind of telling me all the drama that my poor sisters are going through. And so I kind of, in some ways, I was like, thank God I am single and I'm not dealing with all the bull crap that all my sisters are. But she was talking about how my one sister had like a real anger issue and control issue and stuff like that. And she's like, you know, your grandmother is bipolar and had like major anger issues and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, your sisters do, they really got into it, you know, arguing the other day. And not that I had that issue. And I was like, oh no, oh no, 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 no. We're not gonna like I'm gonna have to speak up. I have to speak my truth because I'm like, if you think that you didn't have anger issues and there wasn't a bunch of abuse and neglect, I'm like, then I have to speak up. So I kind of like, even though I didn't like do it deep, I was like, I'm not gonna try to anger her, but I'm also gonna, in reviewing my story, kind of was like, I have to like put the kibosh on her saying like, well, I didn't have any anger issues like when you guys were children. I'm like, of course you did. Like, where do you think we got it from? So I don't know. It was interesting because I know like figuring out our story and not being a victim was part of it. And I was like, I have to speak my truth. I feel like she's trying to rewrite what happened. So anyways, um, I was one, and the other thing I wrote down in my notes was for this abundance class, I feel like I am getting a little bit of pushback from myself um, about like, yeah, monetizing doing mediumship. There's a like a mind body expo on Saturday, and I had talked to a friend about maybe like going and trying to film some of the like the psychics and the mediums and stuff like that. And I just
Great
thought
idea.
I'm taking on way too much as I'm trying to do the Home Depot stuff on Sunday and Monday. And I just think I'm pushing myself way too hard. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to take a step back and I think I'll go to the expo with a friend she does a lot of camera work and she's in the industry as well. And so I think we're just going to go scout some talent, try to film anybody. We're just going to go scout some talent and that feels better. But yeah, so I'm kind of like, I'm still kind of got my eye on the prize for one of my bigger goals. But I do feel like I woke up this morning and I had a lot of resistance to almost like everything that was going on. I just got really overwhelmed, I think, like, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this whole mediumship thing and charging but also like, I think like do the class again. I would think like maybe like bi-weekly would be like giving people like, at least for myself, I feel like I need a little space to sort of like get the gumption to like get the drive going. I don't know. Does that make any sense? I feel like it's the other ladies agree, but I feel like it's like a hard push to like get us up in this mode of like, all right, we're gonna try this new business and we're gonna take our gifts and we're gonna like go, go, go. I don't know. That's feeling a little bit. Maybe that's why there's some resistance. Maybe there's like it's a quick ramp up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
But also
Yeah.
like you don't want to like get some traction. So there's that.
So, you're feeling resistance because you don't know if you want to monetize your spiritual gift. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I'm getting a little pushback of like I know I don't want to do it full time. I know that for sure. To me, it would be like a side hustle because I don't feel like in my heart of hearts like I would be ready to like this is all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna walk away from all the film TV stuff.
Right on. And so the first thing it would say is that it doesn't sound like that's the right thing to put your let me earn money with this, let me build a business around this. That doesn't feel like the right energy, to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that my favorite advice, there's a lot of things that I loved in Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week book. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things I loved about that book, and it's just as relevant 20 years later now. But one of the main things he suggested is not trying to make your hobby your business, because then often it destroys your
Yeah.
passion for the hobby. And I've seen that happen over and
Especially with
over
my artwork.
again. I've seen that happen over and over again to artists, to creatives, to, you know, actors, to, directors, etc. Um, he suggests not using your hobby as your business. He suggests to see your business as a profit model, because that's what a business really is. And although that's not what your average spiritualist, or artist or creative wants to hear, it's actually the most strategic decision if you understand the purpose of business. The purpose of business is to generate revenue. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to make business be about feeding your heart's desire, you're
Mm-hmm.
starting out with conflicting messages. You know what I mean? If you
Mm-hmm.
have if you have a popsicle stand and that's your business, you're going to be very specific about what what you're willing to do to make more money. And I need more popsicles, or I need more of this, or this flavor is better. You're going to be very open to that, and you're going to do whatever you need to do to make more money, and you're going to be more successful. Whereas if it's your handmade drawing art business, then maybe you don't want to do the kind of commissions that people are asking, and you can make excuses for this, and but that's not how I really want, and people end up
Yeah.
shooting themselves in the foot over and over again endlessly when
Mm-hmm.
their hobby or their passion or their spiritual thing is their business.
Mm-hmm.
Business really is, it's a revenue model. Like, that's the purpose of it, is to generate revenue. It's to feed you, it's to put food on the table, it's to pay your rent, it's to pay your lighting, and you want to pick things that are dependable and ideally are scalable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And as I have gone through and learned these processes that I'm trying to condense into you guys in a way that's digestible, at least is more digestible than the way it was fed to me. Um, I went through a bunch of different products that I was offering, which is why I told you guys in the beginning, it doesn't matter what you're selling, it doesn't matter what you sell, it doesn't matter what you sell. What matters is learning how to acquire a client. What matters is learning how to market. What matters is learning how to promote something. And if we can learn how to promote something, we can sell anything we want. Okay? And so if you're not passionate about doing this very subjective, very avant-garde, skill, no problem. Like what my first thought was, what are you passionate about? But a better business question is, what do people need right now? What are people looking for? That's a better business question. Like what will people pay me for today is a better question. If I'm worried about paying my rent, that's a better question. What will people pay me for today than what do I want to do with the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how a lot of creatives and a lot of spiritualists approach their idea of business. And Tim Ferriss is very clear, like, that's not the way to approach a business. Nobody's going to invest in that business. Nobody wants a business model of like maybes and I don't know, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
I'll like, but maybe you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to invest in a business where we sell this and we
Exactly.
sell this many of them a week, and we're
Mm-hmm.
looking to go into this market, and we can then sell this many a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you
Mm-hmm.
want when you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, so we have time, and one of the things I wanted to talk about is that I'm going to extend the time of this series for you guys, because I really want to make sure everybody sort of has the most important elements. So we have next week, and then I'll do at least 1 or 2 more weeks follow up with everybody. And so start over from the very beginning. And what you're going to have to do is literally start from the beginning. You're going to have to find your most valuable problem all over again. You're going to have to figure out your message all over again. And that's going to be frustrating, but that's the way there's no other way around it. You understand what I'm saying? Like every single product, every single service has to be broken down in this capacity. You have to understand, what is the problem I'm solving? Who is the consumer that I'm looking for? How do I get to them, right? And one of the things I'm going to be teaching you guys in this process is simple ways to make content, make posts, make TikToks, make, whatever. And the only difference between you making a post and having an ad is the fact that you got to answer a bunch of questions. And if you try to turn it into an ad, they're going to ask you all the same questions I'm asking you. They're going to ask you about demographics. How old are the people that you like? They're going to ask you all these questions. You know what I'm saying? So these are things you have to learn to think about. And this is the strategy that is most valuable. And so don't be frustrated if you have to change what you want to offer. Understand that you're going to have to go through this program over and over again before it really makes sense. You have to break it down and be like, here's what the problem is, here's the solution, here's the person, and then at some point you're going to get it. It's going to click. And it might not be the first one. It's usually not people's first one. I made several landing pages, several offers that got nothing. My very first Facebook ad campaign, I spent $10 a day for 5 days, and I got 3 people on the phone, and I got 1 client to sign up, and I made $300. So I spent $50 and I made $300. And instead of immediately going and spending another $50, I started trying to figure out how to make a fucking funnel to do it all on autopilot and got distracted and shit, you know? And so what we want to learn how to do is just literally make the offer, get someone to talk to us, and turn them into a customer. And you don't need system to do that. And you don't need a landing page to do that, right? We're going to talk about it tonight. It's the strategy of how do I express myself in a way that's an invitation, and then how do I deepen a conversation with someone that expresses interest in a way that allows me to help them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Did anybody have any thoughts, any questions before we get into the stuff I wanted to cover tonight? Are you having a moment, Natalie?
What did you call it? Cosmic giggles?
Yes.
I'm filled with cosmic giggles, and everything is just tickling me. Like when you said that thing about the getting distracted and stuff and doing the funnel, all I could think of is is the universe watching us and just chuckling,
Oh yeah.
like watching the cute squirrel memes. I mean, this is I'm sure we're very interesting. So anyway, cosmic giggle.
The spirit world is fascinated by us, and they watch us endlessly. We're like soap operas to them, and they really pay attention so that they can help whenever they need when they need to. I do think that they genuinely are entertained in and of themselves, though. I mean, and who could blame them?
Yeah.
Who could blame them? Okay, let me get a drink real quick. So one thing that I would like to do is make space for anybody that would like to workshop any of your answers to this week's messages. I've got one of the main lines of questions. So if anybody does want to workshop your answers, I do want to make space to do that. I also wanted to ask, did anyone have a chance to watch the sales workshop, the 30-day sales workshop? Bueller, anyone? No.
Not at all.
Did you, Shannon?
I did not.
No? Okay. So I cannot stress the importance of this enough. And I'm going to show you guys a graphic that will hopefully convey it. let me share my screen. So part of what you're going to learn in this process is how to convey value, how to quantify, and how to convey value. And one of the ways I stumbled upon it in terms of this course was realizing I needed to talk about how much I've spent learning these models, right? And as soon as I started saying that I've spent 18 grand to learn these business models that have allowed me to, make a living with social media, then everybody was more interested in paying a few $100 to learn that. Like, it quantified the value, okay? And so to quantify the value of this video I just sent to you guys for free, and y'all know how much everybody values things that are free, I paid $100 for this workshop. And what this is one module out of a larger sales course that these guys have been doing, and they've made millions of dollars selling this sales course, teaching people how to sell based on this script, based on this model. I paid $100 for this module, and the idea was to release this module to get you to sign up. I don't remember how much the overall offer was, but I think it was somewhere around 5 grand is what they were trying to get you to sign up for. So I sent you the video. It's 30, maybe 40 minutes long, and he walks you through this script. And I've gotten a few of these kind of scripts and a few of these kinds of programs, but this one actually changed my paradigm, okay? And it's very important to understand this shift if you want to create revenue for yourself more easily. It's important to understand this shift. I resisted sales all my life, except when I did Cutco. I sold Cutco cutlery, and I was really good at it. I loved selling Cutco because it was a whole show. They teach you the whole thing. It's a script. They teach you the show, and you do the show. This is the best sales script I've ever seen. And the way that he teaches it, he explains the rationale very cleanly and very succinctly. That doesn't mean you're going to agree with every line or every approach in here. Every sales script anybody has ever gotten, you change it however you need to make it feel good to you. But what's really important to understand is the shift of the philosophy, the shift of the paradigm of the approach of what am I doing when I get on this call. And what we call this in the models that I've learned is a discovery call. They call it a sales call. This is a few years old, and they're teaching to people that are actual salesmen. In the coaching world, they typically call it a discovery call. You don't call it a sales call because people think they're going to have to buy something. So you call it a discovery call. And what most of us use that original call for is to do our magic on people. If we're meditation people, we take that time to try and do meditation with them. If we're mediums, we take that time to mediumify them. If we're this, if we're that, we take that time to do our skill. And what the people that are smart enough to spend money to study all this stuff, what they have seen is that delivering your skill or your ability on that very first call out of the gate is not the best way to get a client. Because what happens is the better you are at doing what you do, the more profoundly you shift their perspective in that one session, the better they feel. They don't feel like they need you. They feel better now. You've solved their problem. And this has happened to me many times. I've helped people relieve deep core trauma on the very first call and expect them to sign up. And they're like, no, I feel great. Thanks. Yeah, I'll call you in the future if I have any problems. And I'm like, what the fuck? And one of my coaches says explicitly, do not solve people's problem on the first call. Do not solve people's problem on the first call. So what is it that we should do on this discovery call? You've got to find your own answer. But what these guys discovered is absolutely fascinating. And the shift that helped me was to stop thinking of a sales call as a sales call, meaning like the goal is to figure out how to close a sale, how to get someone to sign up for something right then and there. He shifted his perspective of that being the purpose to genuinely getting to understand who someone is so that you can figure out if you actually have the ability to help them or not. He literally shifted from a salesperson to a coach. So he would address this first call like a coach. And you just got to really get inside someone's head and figure out who they are and what they're really struggling with. And I resisted this at first, you guys, because I I'm really good at meditation. I'm really good at taking people inside. I'm really good at fixing their problems. I'm really good at, and I thought, how are people going to sign up if I don't show them what I do? But I had trouble getting people to sign up. You understand? When I started utilizing this model, this psychological model that's been developed scientifically, I started closing more clients. Okay. And and so don't overlook this. I'm going to walk through just an overview of this now. I sent you all the video. Um, in the chat, I put the link to this document I've got right here. This is the document that goes along with the video. So if you click the Google link in the thing, you can download this document. This document is a quick breakdown of everything they cover in the video. So you definitely need the video. Don't think you can do it with just the document. But I'm going to walk you through it real quick. But before I do that, I want to talk about why this is important. And I had that model before. Let me go find it real quick. I had that model before. Oops. Sorry, HBO always starts automatically whenever you log back in. So we had this model. No. Okay, I don't know where it is right now, but it was a more complicated model of this. And what I wanted to do was reduce it for you. I don't want you guys thinking about all those steps, especially someone like Marvelous that has an intuitive resistance to tech. I don't want you guys thinking about all of those steps. For someone like Natalie, she's like totally like loving this idea and can break it all down and like is already probably doing shit I haven't even shown her yet. Like she gets that world, okay? Marvelous doesn't. Some of us don't. And what I want to do is simplify it for everybody's minds right now. And this is the simplest way that I can describe it, okay? Everything that we're going to do is going to start with a post. It's going to start with a TikTok video. It's going to start with an Instagram image. It's going to start with a Pinterest image. It's going to start with a Facebook post, whatever. Everything we do is going to start with posts, okay? This is the reason why I keep getting you guys to drill down into your story and your message, is because your message and your story is going to create all of the content for your post. It's going to tell you what to talk about, okay? The purpose of every one of those posts is to lead them to an offer. That's the landing page, right? This is where the system scenario begins. System.io begins here. Now, once you get this process working, you will have ads, and your ads will lead people to there, but you don't do ads until you get the organic working, okay? So this doesn't even matter until we get these working. So we got to come up with our message and our story to create content, and then our content goes to a landing page, which is the offer, right? That's how we begin that conversation. And then As people join that conversation, they get added to our email sequence. And then if we do our email sequence well, we get them on a discovery call to talk to us, okay? This is the systematized, automated way, okay? This is all you need to actually understand is this way. Your posts can send people directly to your DMs rather than to a landing page. This is how I started. When I started on TikTok, I didn't have all this stuff set up. I started by each post, each live stream. The only purpose is to get someone to send you a DM. Okay? It's the DM strategy. You don't need any of the tech. You will still eventually need to know your ideal customer. You'll still need to know your message and all of those things. But if you go this route, you can get to this without setting all of this stuff up. Okay? And this is how Marvelous got her first couple of clients. As soon as she joined the program, she got people, she made her offers in our Soulstream Live. And then people said, hey, I want it. And she talked to them in the DMs, direct messages. And then she got them onto a call to deliver her service. Okay? So these are the only two steps you all really need to understand to benefit from this course. System or no system. Landing page or no landing page. If you guys get how to invite people into your DMs and how to have a conversation in the DMs that gets them onto a call, and then you learn how to turn a percentage, a small percentage of these calls into clients, you'll be able to generate continuous revenue, okay? You can build a business around this. You can automate this stuff later. Don't let the challenge of this stuff make you believe you can't do this right now, right? But in order to do this right now, you have to figure out who you're talking to, what's your offer, right? I told you it doesn't matter what you're selling, what's your offer. Your offer is how you get them into your DMs. Who wants a solution for chipping nails? Send me a DM. Would you like help reading your astrological chart? Send me a DM. Would you like to get a spiritual channeled poem? Send me a DM. You have to come up with that offer to request the connection. And then we have to strategically learn how to build that conversation to get them onto the discovery call, okay? What happens on that discovery call, what most of us do here is we deliver our service. We just go to town doing what we do. And people almost always love it. They feel great. And then they say they'll think about it and they'll talk to you later, and you get nothing else from it. That's what happens most of the time. Instead of delivering what you do, if you learn the strategy that this guy is teaching here, which is the same strategy several of the high-end coaches that I've gotten sucked up into have used this exact same strategy, right? It's all about this discovery call, and rather than trying to razzle me and dazzle me, show me everything they can do, they spend that time getting to know who I really am. They spend that time asking me deep questions. They spend that time making sure they really understand what my obstacles and challenges are. And then as they start talking about their solution, they're able to verbalize it in ways that use my exact same language because they've listened to me and they've taken notes on what I've said. You understand? So as I was talking about focus, they wrote focus down. And as they go to express the solution, they use the word focus. You understand? It's very strategic. Okay? So please don't overlook this. And this is the step that we're dealing with right now, is this discovery call. And this is the best script I've ever seen, but you might need to change it to make it your own thing. And we're just going to kind of go over the generalities of it tonight. We don't need to dive deep into it. The video does it way better than I can. So inside this, you'll learn what not to say. That's important for those of us that don't know, like how to do sales or discovery calls. demand killing phrases you should never ever say to the prospect on the phone. The script, this is really, really helpful. I've never used a script verbatim in my life, but it's very helpful to see it broken down in specific words that you can paraphrase, if you need to. Silence is a weapon. This one is weird, but I've heard a lot of high-end salespeople talk about this, that when you make your offer, you have to be silent. And I'm sure you all have heard the term whoever speaks first loses, right? Like, this is very important to understand that once you make your offer, don't say anything. Just wait for them, and they'll ask a question, or they'll say sign me up, or they'll like whatever. This is a very important step. And then stop sending proposals. This is the reason this kind of process is so useful, is because when I first started it, my process didn't look like this to here. My process looked like this to 5 or 6 DMs to an email, which turned into 3 or 4 emails that eventually would end up in a discovery call. So I would spend 2 or 3 days just to try and get someone on one free fucking call. That wasn't very efficient, right? That was not going to work for me in the long term. So how to avoid that, how to get people booked faster. One of the things I love about it is it has this really clear breakdown of all the steps. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 steps. And so they're broken down here, and you can kind of see where you're at as you move through it. So the rules: record the call. This is one that a lot of people avoid. I'm finally starting to do it, and obviously it's very helpful. All of the coaching programs I've said have suggested to do your discovery calls with Zoom and record them for your own benefit, for testimonials, for examples of how your shit works. They all suggest recording your calls. So you have game tape. You can review it. You can make it better. Have a pen and notepad in front of you, so you always want to take notes when you're talking to a client for the first time, a prospect for the first time. Turn off all devices so that you're not like looking at whatever. I've caught myself playing chess while someone was telling me their traumatic childhood shit before, and it's like, no, sorry, dude, not the right, turn your shit off. Release all attachments to the sale or yes. If you need the sale, you will not get it. If you're needy, people can feel it. Nobody wants to feed a hungry puppy, right? So they all talk about this detachment. You have to be detached, and you have to really just get to know who someone is and figure out if there's a way if you even know how to help them. And then he talks a lot about being right on time. He said that's proven really valuable. So I really love this. The rules: a doctor's job is to diagnose the problem. Prescribing a solution or quoting a figure without understanding the true problem would be considered professional malpractice. Price is always contextual, and it must be anchored to the cost of missed opportunity. Price doesn't make sense in isolation, so do not quote a price until you fully understand the problem, the cost of not fixing the problem, and can link your fees to the fees of the prospect doing nothing. So this line right here is priceless. To understand this version of pricing, this psychological approach to pricing, it is always contextual. And what I tell everybody in worthiness and self-love is that value has no meaning without comparison. It's always contextual. And this is why no high-end anything will tell you the price before they give you the dog and pony show. You have to get the walkthrough. We have to show you everything available in the club before we'll tell you how much it costs. You have to come and we have to show you the leather, and we have to let you drive the car before we'll tell you how much it costs. Right? Its value is always contextual. So first, an open. He's very clear, like how you want to open, and it's all about creating rapport, connecting with someone from a human standpoint. Set the agenda. He makes this really clear that we need to really take the reins in the very beginning and let them know this is how this is going to work. It's important not only from like an alpha or a leader standpoint, but it's important for you to be able to guide the experience. That's what they're ultimately paying for, is to be guided. So we need to set up the fact that we have the ability to guide them from the very beginning. Understand why they're here. This is one that I don't think any of us really pay as much attention to unless we've had some kind of sales training. The whole point of getting them on the phone is to understand who they are and what their problem is. That's the real challenge. And the salespeople that have really caught me are the ones that ask me the best questions, and I really feel like they care about who I am. I really feel like they know who I am. And so when they start talking to me about the solution, it feels like their solution was made just for me. Understand their business. Now, these people help people with business, so that's why they use that language. But for us, it would be understand, their emotional state, or understand their astrological chart, understand their, sexual disorder. Like this isn't just business. This is basically understand their problem, right? Which is why we're always talking about what is your most valuable problem? What problem do you solve for people? We want to understand what their problem is, because that's what we're trying to sell them as a solution. Examine their pain. This is something they talk about in every good sales course. Is once you figure out what the problem is, don't just skip on to what the solution is. Really dig in to what kind of pain does that problem create for people. So they have allergies. So what? How does that affect their lives? Well, I can't sleep at night and it drives my wife crazy. So they have this. So what? Well, how does that affect your life? You really want to examine their pain and get inside of what are the costs of this problem for their lives, because that's going to determine the value of the solution. You understand? If someone is really being driven crazy by a problem, they're going to be willing to spend more money than someone that's like, yeah, whatever. It's like not a big deal. What they want. This is the desire. What do they really want? What are they really trying to achieve? What are the results? Every program, every process, every product is offering some form of result. What is it that they really want? We need to figure out, we need to get them to say it. We need to get them to state what it is they really want. Responsibility. So this is getting people, this is testing out whether people are really able to commit and follow through with things. Like, a lot of people take every discovery call they can. A lot of people try to follow up on every get-rich thing, every way that anybody wants to help them, and they just surf and hop from thing to thing. And you can feel the energy in someone's answer. If they're a flaky, if they're like whatever, you can feel the energy in the answer. So a part of their process is feeling, is this a flaky person or is this someone that's dependable? Acknowledge the gap. That's the gap between where they are and where they really want to be. What is that gap? Is that a 3-month gap? Are they trying to lose 20 pounds? Are they trying to learn how to code a computer? What is the gap between where they are and where they really want to be? Close. So this isn't like closing a sale. This is closing like the conversation. This is wrapping up with like, this is what we really do. This is how we help. And then irresistible offer, baby. This is where that comes back. State your offer. You have to make a clear offer. This is what I'm offering. And most of us, especially, airy-fairy, new age, healing, woo-woo type shit, we don't have clear offers. You have to have a clear offer of this is the program, this is the change that I offer, and this is what the program cost. You have to state your offer clearly. And then you shut up. That's step 11. Shut up. Don't say anything. Let them feel into it. Let them feel into their energy. A huge part of what they're doing is they're feeling into how much they want it. And they need to feel that. They need to feel that. Objections and money, they always deal with objections and high-end sales stuff. New agey people, we don't really deal with this stuff a lot. Like if you're not down, I'm not going to try and convince you, you know. So if you're like me, you don't even need to necessarily worry about objections. Um, and then they have different answers for different kinds of objections. It is good to like know these, and if you help people in a specific way, you'll see all the same objections. I got to talk to my, whatever. Oh, I don't have enough time. I really want to do this, but whatever. So this is that document, and did everybody get the link? It's in the chat. It's in the chat. You can download it. If you go through it when you do the video, everything will sink in much deeper.
It's on school.
It is very cool. It is very
No.
cool, and thank you for reminding me that I said I was going to
No,
offer
it's
it.
not in the chat.
Is it school or is it chat here on
The
Zoom?
chat here up at the top.
No, it's not. Oh, no.
Not there. Maybe because y'all weren't in here before it. I see it. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and grab that. So what this document and this workshop is going to help answer is the energy of how do I have a discovery call? How do I take a perfect stranger and get to know them in a way where they feel seen and heard, and I truly feel like I can help them? Like you really, like they don't encourage you to try to sell people that you can't help, and none of us can help everyone, right? So how do we come up with a process for assessing who people are and what they're really dealing with? And I had to do that myself through trial and error over years. And any of us that are doing any kind of business had to figure it out for ourselves. Trial and error over years. Like nobody teaches you that unless you specifically do a sales course or you're specifically in a company and they teach you sales processes, it's incredibly valuable to learn proven structures. And I struggled with sales for 10 years, y'all. I struggled with sales for 10 years. And when I adopted the strategy, I started converting at a rate far beyond anything I ever had before. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions about this framework? I think they call it 30-day sales, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what they call it. It's how to do a discovery call. Any thoughts, any questions?
So do you feel like you went into the light or do you feel like you went into the dark by doing sales?
Me personally?
Come to the light.
Me personally, everything I do is to the light, and everything is a tool and we can use it all for dark or light. And so like NLP, I've been studying that shit for years, and that's just the study of hypnotic thought patterns, and you can definitely use that stuff, like that's what all the womanizer, I'll teach you how to talk to women. All that stuff is based on NLP. It's based on, so you can use this stuff however you want to use it. But the science of the psychology is science. It's proven, it's proven.
Well, and I was gonna say, like, to me, it's all about like trust, and I trust you. Whether you're using a script or not. It's like, do I want to change for the better? Do I trust that Satek is here for me and I can trust him with, my where I'm trying to go in life and stuff like that. And to me, it's very authentic. I mean, that's at least what I'm picking. I'm picking up.
Well, thank you. And you're going to have to bring your energy like that with your prospects. The script alone isn't going to do it. You know what I mean? Like you're definitely going to have to use your energy to connect to people, and you definitely do want to know that you can help people before you try and sell them anything. It's just it's way better to not have to deal with the headache and the refunds and the legal whatever. You know what I mean?
Like if people, I do want to do mediumship, and I guess I wouldn't mind charging money, but I was like volunteering at my church one time, and I was giving readings, and there were two people that gave me the ick real bad. Like they just wanted to like gossip and like talk about like men. Like clearly, there's like one woman that came to me, she was older, and this guy was using her for money, and I was like, how do I state this nicely?
Mm-hmm.
that she's being used. And I was like, I would be really careful. I'm not feeling good about this part, you know. So, but I do like I just got the ick, and I was like, I would not like they were like wanted to pay me and they wanted to come like a couple times a week. Like I don't think I'd feel good about it, but like everybody else felt like it was a positive thing. But the two other people I got the ick from, and I was like, I would not want them as clients.
Yes, this is part of boundaries, or having clear boundaries, and it's very important as we seek abundance to be very clear how we desire to receive abundance. And we don't need to accept anyone else's standards for abundance. We have to find our own. And one of the ways I ended up doing this is that I was teaching classes at yoga studios for donation, and I did it for several years, and almost none of my students would read any books or practice anything on their own. They just came to class to get blissed out and meet some friends and talk and about shit. About shit. And I got sick of being like a spiritual surrogate. I got sick of being a wet nurse for people that didn't really want to do the work, and so I stopped offering my
Did
services
you
that way.
were you charging? But you still
It was donation. It was classes
okay.
donation, and a few times a lot of people came, and I made really good money. But most of the time it was 30-40 bucks here or there.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't that I wasn't earning enough money from it. It was that the people weren't valuing what I
Mhm.
was offering them in the way that I wanted it to be valued. And even if you do receive donations, you're still giving it away for free, and they know that, and they didn't value it. And
Right.
I was done offering it for people that didn't value it, and
Mhm.
then I started having clients that would pay me for it. While I was doing it for free, nobody was interested in paying for it. When I stopped doing it for free, people started being willing to pay for it.
Oh, they kind of came to you and like, I will pay. And you're like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, I'm seeing how this works. Like, I'm going to charge
Hmm.
more and then I'm going to receive more. And they're doing the homework and they're doing the work.
Yeah, but we all have to start with free to learn our skills, to learn our process, to learn how to acquire a client, to learn how to have the conversation, to learn how to deliver the. We all have to start for free. So
Mhm.
don't worry about if you want to do it as a business if you're not really working making it work well for free. You got to try and make it work well for free. And
Oh, I've
if
been
you
doing
can
that for
make it
years.
work well for free, then maybe you can turn it into a business. But if you're struggling to fit it in or to sell it or to make it work for free, trying to turn it into a business isn't going to just magically make it start working. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I've been doing like mediumship for years and like as an exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the fact that Spirit was like, stop being stingy. It was like, well, I'm not being stingy because we're exchanging, but they're like, well, do it more. And then I was like, well, if I'm gonna do it more, then I'm gonna charge for it. I'm gonna charge for my time.
Mm-hmm.
I put money into these classes, so therefore.
So, very important to understand that spirit doesn't care what we do with our gifts. Okay? It doesn't care. And I talked to my Kundalini teacher. It's the first woman I ever met that channeled, and the being that she channeled was named Ma'at. And I just loved talking to her, and I knew that people would pay her to talk to Ma'at. And I asked Ma'at, I said, do you mind if she charges people to talk to you? And Ma'at was like, she can do whatever she wants to do. Ma'at didn't care. If somebody wants to talk to Ma'at, Ma'at will talk to them. It's up to Adrian whether she wants to make herself available for that for free, or if she wants to charge for it, and if she wants to charge 30 bucks for it or $95 for it. It's up to Adrian.
Mhm.
Ma'at doesn't care. Spirit doesn't care. Spirit is here to help and to communicate to anybody that wants to learn. And if you want to let spirit flow through you, don't try to monetize it. Just let it flow through you. And what happens is, if it flows through you well enough, people start throwing fucking money at you. You don't have to figure out how to monetize real spiritual energy when it's happening. people start throwing money at you. And for the craziest shit you could imagine, y'all, Amma, the hugging saint. This bitch just sits up at the front and hugs everybody. And she's got a whole entire ashram of people that follow her everywhere. Amma, the hugging saint. There is Brashio. I don't even know what country he's from. All this dude does is come to the front of the thing and stare at everybody for a minute or two. He looks in each person's eyes, and people cry, and their manifestations come true and shit. And I was there, and what I manifested, what I wanted, came true. Like, it's crazy shit. There's ways you can't even imagine that people are allowing spirit to come through them. And the idea of sacred abundance is the sacredness of the abundance, and understanding that we're made of it and letting it come through in all of the ways, and I love the process that I've witnessed. I love the exchanges that I've seen. I really appreciate the overwhelm and the challenges with figuring out your target demographic and your messages. It's not easy stuff, but it's necessary if we're going to figure out what we're going to communicate and who we're going to say it to. Everybody doesn't know, like, what should I post? I don't know what kind of video to make. It's because you don't know what your message is and you don't know who you're talking to. If you know who you're talking to and you figure out what your message is, then it's really obvious. Today I'm going to make a video about abundance, and it's a big topic. So today let's talk about this part of abundance. And the next day, let's talk about this part of abundance. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, so these are challenging questions, but I promise you they're important. And you won't answer them once. You're going to answer them over and over again for different products, different solutions. It doesn't matter what you sell. The game is figuring out how to make irresistible offers and get people onto calls. There's a lot of ways to sell people online, but that shit is hard, you guys. It's really hard to get a cold prospect to click a button and give you money online. And anybody with an online store knows that. You know that, right, Natalie? It's hard to get someone to click a button on a website and give you money. It's way easier to get someone that's talking to you and feels like you care about them and feels like you understand who they are. It's way easier to get them to give you a credit card. You understand? And this is the reason that it's the only reason I've been able to make a living with TikTok is because I'm not selling $10 shit. I'm not selling $15 ebooks. I'm selling coaching. I'm selling courses. I'm selling things that cost hundreds of dollars. And so I don't need thousands of customers. You know what I mean? I don't need thousands of followers. And what I'm charging is on the low end of private coaching, y'all. You know, self love is still like $75 an hour. That's the low end of one-on-one private coaching, you know. But but for the past 10 years, almost everything I've done has been $50 to $75 an hour. So $75 is worth it for me. Nobody's going to retire on $75 an hour, you know. And we're all limited with the hours that we have in the day. So I've never even added up if I could book seven or eight
Who's your favorite
hours.
life coach?
Say what?
Who's your favorite life coach, or whoever you paid for? Who's been your like most authentic?
That's a good question. Benny is the sales guy from Contentpreneurs, and he's the best salesman I've ever had the pleasure of talking to. I found out later he's a hip hop artist, and
Oh, cool.
that made me understand a little bit more of his like rapport. But he's very, very human and very personable. And every single time I talk to him, I feel like I'm jamming with a buddy from New York. And he's always positive and he's always helpful. And he just makes me feel good every time I talk to him. And I have realized after many years of figuring out all of these fucking tools to help people with all these problems, I have figured out that the most valuable thing, the most valuable service I have to provide people is to make them feel good
Mhm.
about themselves when they talk to me. And if I make them feel good about themselves when they talk to me, they want to talk to me again. You
Mhm.
understand? So making them feel good about themselves is more important than any kind of objective change that I want to get them to make. And if you all understand that, you'll have a much clearer beat as to how to get clients for yourself. The key is make people feel good about themselves. I don't know what's happening to, to Joanna, but do you need to unmute Joanna? You need to share something with us. She's getting lit on fire. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So that's the key, really. Is how do you make people feel better about themselves? And if you
Mhm.
can, they want more of it. And I felt that really clearly in this course. As I've felt y'all get frustrated, I've felt y'all be overwhelmed, and I'm like, none of the steps in the course matters. What matters is, are you loving yourselves? Are you having
Mhm.
fun? Are you growing? That's what really matters. Nobody signed up for this course to feel like they failed. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And the more we understand the truth of that, the easier it becomes to help people. You're I need very few of my NLP shaman magic, tools when I work with people anymore, because all I'm doing is I'm listening to where they're coming from, and I'm just saying things that I know will make them feel better. And by God, did Marvelous do a magical job of that a few weeks ago. Natalie witnessed it. We we had we had a we had a student in here that was the deepest Eeyore I've ever worked with in my life. And it was like she would start talking, and everybody's energy would just be like, oh. And she would just go on and on, and like, you don't want to interrupt her because she's super sensitive, and so you're like waiting to try and interrupt her, and then when you finally get to say something, you whatever you say isn't the right thing because you're trying to make sure and not give her a reason to say more stuff when you finish. It's just like this really. And Marvelous stepped in a way nobody there could, and Marvelous talked to her like a mother, and she just told her how beautiful she was, and you're special and you're perfect. And this woman just sat there and melted from the inside out. And that was magic I didn't have for her in that moment, you
We
know?
kind of all melted. I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the effect filled the room. Everybody, Kino was sitting next to me, and we all just went, "Oh." I mean, I witnessed your face because you were on the screen. It was just like everybody was just like, "Oh," and it was done. I was a puddle.
It was a perfect demonstration of the power of just helping people feel better in their body, in their mind, And that's the biggest challenge. If we can figure out how to do that, people tend to want more of it. And then it's just a question of, how much do we want for it and how much can they afford? And there's ways of finding middle grounds for that, right? There's creative ways of figuring out how much people can afford. So you don't have to just have a $3,000 price point and then you can't help anybody else. Um, the last program that I joined was 8 grand, but they have a buy-in at like 3 grand. They'll get you into the program, and then you can pay over time. And then if you can't afford that, they let you into their school for $50 a month, and they convert that $50 a month on like 70% of their calls. They don't close that $8,000 offer on a whole lot of the calls, but with that high an offer, they don't have to close a lot on it. But with that $50 a month at 70%, they have something like 500. They have like 500 members
Because it's digestible.
paying $50, and that's like 25 grand a month or something. $25,000 a month, and that's one source of revenue. They have all kinds of things they offer. They have all kinds of tiers, all kinds of program. That's their low tier offer is $25,000 a month they're making. No idea how much they're making from the $8,000 full deal. These are the models, and it'll work, but you got to let it work for you, and you got to trust the process, and you got to be willing to figure out, you know, messages and stories and stuff. And I want to talk about where we're at message and story wise before we go. But before that, I want Joanna to tell us what the fuck's going on. talk to us, Joanna. What the fuck is going on?
I keep seeing, I don't know what I'm seeing, and it's not stressing me out. It's infuriating me that they're hiding from me, and I'm calling them out. That's it. I'm sorry.
Okay, got you. It
I'm
looked
being
Is
distracted.
it looked like you were doing
A
an
spirit?
incantation or something.
Ay, gotolong balenti di citri
All right.
sero ola la pentea tara iso chotria polo andare I tindana kumbala katare tinti si te juga paga iti tansi suru kwaya tias.
Nice, thank you. Do they feel friendly or do they feel like questionable?
There would nothing be that's questionable that would be here. It's not allowed
Is
in
it
my readings.
is
Got
it a
you.
spirit?
Oh, yeah, it's many different entities.
She's got all kinds of friends.
I feel.
That's what happens when you have a
But
thin veil.
they're playing with the lights behind my phone, and that's what's catching my attention. Like they're
Ah,
trying to pull me like this way, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's almost like I see little children running around and like, yeah, like playing hide and
ah.
seek.
exactly. That's exactly that's exactly.
Um. Okay. Did anybody have any other questions before we get into the our? I want to workshop any messages anybody had. Did anybody have anything else? Okay. Perfect. Let me do this again. Boom. So I don't know if you guys have done the questions in the homework and the emails, but what I wanted to do was look. Where were they? I had them already open somewhere. Oh, it's down here. No, sorry. I had to reboot everything right before I did it because my Zoom camera wasn't working again, so I got to open this stuff. Sorry. Okay, so from day 15, this week is message. All right. And the importance of understanding our message is, like I said, this is where all of our content is going to come from. And so I wanted to know if anybody was willing to workshop your message here tonight. Does anybody want to answer these for us right now? Bueller? Bueller? So
Wait,
a
I
brief
can.
answer. Yeah, go ahead for us, Natalie. What's a brief answer of what your story is so far, the way you see it right now?
So my story, I feel, and I did write these out, but I don't even know if my iPad's gonna stay alive
You
long
you
enough.
can read them exactly as you wrote them, or you can just answer them, spontaneously for us.
Um, my story, I didn't answer that one because it was just too broad. It's like I started with where I came from, if that makes
That's what
sense
we're
to
calling
you.
your backstory.
Okay.
And you can start there if you want to. I mean, because that's like your story is the whole thing. Like where I came from, what happened, and where I went to. Your story is kind of like, is it the ugly duckling? Is it the little engine that could? You know what I mean? Is it the three little pigs? Like, what is your story?
I was just super. I had so much social anxiety. I would be paralyzed when I was younger, and then I learned to mask, and I learned to get by, and I learned to survive, and I was I came from a place of fear and anxiety.
How old?
I can recall this from my very earliest memories of not having any, no facial contact at all. I can remember shapes of people, colors, shoes, pants from the knee down. So I would experience the world like this, and I would either look over my elbow or under my elbow. And I couldn't it was so difficult for me to survive just being in a classroom.
And do you know what caused this social anxiety?
I feel like for some reason I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel accepted. There was this always this feeling of having to be something else. Um Otherwise I wasn't okay. I wasn't worthy. I wasn't good enough. And I felt like I was going to be, even as I started getting older, right around the time that I got to be about 10, 11 years old, I figured out that I wasn't a straight person, that I found women equally attractive as men. And I remember announcing in my classroom, I'm going to marry Mrs. Adams when I grow up.
Ah,
It was either in first grade or second grade, and all those kids laughed at me, said, "You can't marry Mrs. Adams." And I said, "Why?" And I thought it would be because, oh, she's already married. But they told me no, because you're a girl and Mrs. Adams is a girl. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm gonna be an outcast the rest of my life. It's just like I knew it. And so I was afraid of being who I really was. And there was just something inside me that said, um, that was just telling me, you're not okay. It isn't okay. So you have to, and I had to wear that mask. You had to figure out. And so I used to just like have maybe one friend, one really close friend, and that would be my Winnie the Pooh. And I would just be next to that person, and I wouldn't want to hang out with anybody else. And most of the time I wanted to be around I want to be around adults because they were nicer, they could be kinder.
awesome. So, does everybody notice that you feel like you know a lot more about Natalie now? Does everybody feel
Yes.
that her sharing her story just that much, that was a couple of sentences, you like feel like you know who she is and you care about her? This is why we have to uncover our stories, is because they
Mhm.
make people feel like they understand us and they make people feel like they care. So this is a beautiful example, and I want y'all to notice what happened as I wrote down what she was saying. This is what we want to do in our discovery calls. Now I have all these words that I know are directly connected to her story that I can use back to her as we go through this process. Okay? And each of these words tells me a little bit about her problems, her challenges, and what she's dealing with. And only because I've been doing this a long time, not even because I know her, I would ask at this point, did you have any sexual abuse in your background? Because there's nothing on here that necessarily speaks to that, but almost everyone does, right? And so that's
Mhm.
obviously going to add flavor
Can,
to
can I
those
ask,
challenges as well. Yes, ma'am.
just out of curiosity, did you have a parent that didn't feel like they were good enough? Like, were you modeling them at all, or were they different personalities than you completely?
Yeah, I thought about this a lot, and actually saw tech. It was that video with what was your childhood style? Was it one, two, or three? But my mom had the same type of mother that I had, and so and it was probably even worse. It was probably even way more rigid,
Like you
rigid.
had to be like you had to make yourself small?
I had to make myself perfect. I had to be the perfect kid. I had to fulfill their dreams. And it wasn't okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't anything like what either of them thought that I would be. Um, and I could I could remember sometimes with my father it was okay. I mean, he was more flexible and he could understand, but he had a different childhood. Um, but I can remember my dad because I wanted to be like him. And back in the 70s, he had this denim leisure suit, and I just adored that thing. And I saw one that was it was for boys, but I saw one in the store, and I made my mom buy that for me. And she did because she thought it was cute because I'd look like my dad. But
Oh.
I wanted to look like a boy.
Hmm.
I wanted to be a boy. I wanted to ride I wanted to be a Mex bike and a GI Joe. And I wanted to have big wheels, and I wanted to go, run around and do all this other. I wanted to be a boy. And so I would never had any of those types of toys, but I just took my girl's bike with this stupid dip in the thing that why girls' bikes have that. And we don't all wear dresses all the time, especially not when we're riding a bike. And so I rode my regular bike up over the top of dirt piles and jumped it and tried my best. I didn't always do really well, but I hung out with all the boys and they all say, "Hey, you're really good. You're really fun for a girl. We like you. We would do kickball and snowball fights." And I started to actually feel like, okay, you know, I might have like this thing, like I might have found friends or found how to be me, but it wasn't okay. Like I remember one time, my mom forced me to wear a dress and she curled my hair and she put a beret in it, and I refused to leave the house. I wouldn't do it. Um, and what they really wanted to do was have me look beautiful, like this perfect little girl, ultra feminine and pretty and cute, and they would get all the compliments. So they wanted to buy me a ring. They wanted to get me a little birthstone ring because my special day was coming up or something. And I ruined all their plans by being such a jerk about don't curl my hair, don't want to wear this dress, I will not leave the house. And I was just having a fit. And they took me and dropped me off at my grandparents' house. And they went and they had their day. It was so funny when I look back at it, like, oh, how funny. But I remember how traumatized I was, and all I wanted to do was get those clothes off me. You put me like imagine, Satek, that someone put you in a dress and said you need to go to the mall with me.
Oh,
You'd
it
be
was
like,
just as bad for me. It was like wolf sweaters and shit for the holidays, and it drove me crazy. And I made my mom's life a living hell, and she just gave up trying to dress me.
mm-hmm. So,
Totally.
the one time I had that silly leisure suit that I got on, I'll find the picture somewhere. There's a picture of me standing next to my dad, and I was so proud because he's wearing his leisure suit, I was wearing my leisure suit, and we walked into my grandparents' house, and I think it was Christmas Eve, and he said, "Hey, everybody," he goes, "This is my daughter, in case you couldn't tell." Because I looked just like the spitting image of him. I had blonde hair and blue eyes like him. I was wearing the same outfit he was. So, you know. So I was loved, but it didn't soak in. And, I can
Hmm.
see it now, especially, now after going through, especially all the steps of self-love. I get it now, but I didn't then.
Hmm. Totally. I love that. And so tell me now, this is one of the things that we have to do this over and over again for. We have to not only do it for our products, but we have to do it for ourselves because this idea here, this is going to change depending on what product, what service that you're most interested in.
Right.
Okay? If what you want to offer to people is your sacred geometry stuff, what did you struggle with? The answer for that is going to be different than if what you want to talk to people about is self-love activation, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or if what you want to talk to people about is spiritual ecstasy, okay? So in terms of your most valuable problem, your irresistible offer, you're still looking at doing your sacred geometry channeled pieces. Is that correct?
I think so. I'm not super attached to it, but it feels natural to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I could do pieces that are for the collective, for me, just like the ones that I've already done, and I could offer those in a way that I'm enjoying doing them, and I could offer them in a way that doesn't cost me anything to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the drop ship printing thing that we were talking about before. I mean, it makes sense, but I can always change what I sell. But if I was going to stick with the art, and what I did struggle with was finding out how to be me. How do I be me? I was trying, I was trying to do anything to survive, and I had adopted all these behaviors depending on who I was in front of and what I was going through as I was getting older. But I didn't know how to be me. I didn't. I felt like this strange puzzle piece that wouldn't fit in the world, and I would dive into my artwork. I would spend hours and hours focused on drawing, and it would be so meditative that I can still remember disappearing into it, and my dad coming and knocking at my door, and it might be 1 in the morning, and he goes, you should think about going to bed. And I didn't even know time had passed. So it was my home, it was my sacred place. It was my place where I made the rules, and I determined what went on the page, or if I wanted to let go and let it happen, then it was my choice to do that. And it was peace.
Perfect. So now we've got what our story is all of this, and we can reduce this to the most potent way to state who you were, and you always want to look for the faults in a character to establish who a character is. Always look for the faults. That's who we know. That's how we know who a character is. That's how you know who Daffy Duck is. That's how you know who Bugs Bunny is, right? It's the faults in the character that makes us really love them. So you always want to figure out those faults when you're looking at your story. Once we have the faults, then we can set up what the primary struggle was. So her primary struggle was how to be herself, authenticity, self-expression. And then how did she overcome that challenge? Drawing became a meditative escape. She lost track of times, the intimacy of imagination. This is really where she found who she was. And then what would you say happened in your life as a result?
I started to actually become known for my artwork, even when I was still a young, awkward teenager. I was known as the girl that did artwork. And I kind of found a niche, like something that people could relate to me with. Like they couldn't understand why I was so awkward or weird. But they could understand that, holy cow, is that a self-portrait? You drew that of yourself? Wow, that's really good. Or, and I would always have my work in the art shows. I would spend any kind of free hour I had with in the classrooms. And so sometimes instead of having lunch, I'd go to the art room, and kids started to know who I was. I didn't know who any of those kids were. I definitely wasn't popular. But I started to actually carve out a place for me.
So the natural framing that I feel of your channeled light geometry work is this idea of your light language. The purpose is helping people know who they really are. Is that
Ooh.
you see what I'm saying? Like this is the intention behind your work, is to help them know who they really are. And
Yeah.
that feels really beautiful and that feels really powerful to me. And the story sets up that offer really well, right? Like this is the
Wow.
power of message, you guys, and just trust the process and know it's going to be challenging every time. But all you got to do is ask yourself simple questions and then keep track of the answers. If I hadn't written all that stuff down, I would remember very little of that, right? But we need to take notes on our people that we talk to, on our prospects. We also need to take notes on ourselves. And if we take notes on, like the images, I had you guys go through the images, and you get images, and then you can tell stories for every image, right? We just have to go through it. We've all got these stories in us. We just have to figure them out. And then we see the connections, and then everything starts to make sense. We understand what we're selling. So that's awesome. Do you have any questions about that? Oh, yes, Shannon. Ask to unmute.
So going off Natalie's story, I feel like a question that we should maybe put, or I want to put, is what is your superpower, or how did that become? Maybe like, how did you turn this? What happened to your life as a result? Like, did you learn to thrive? And for like Natalie, I feel like her quirkiness and her like oddness, her uniqueness then became kind of cool and quirky, and
Became my thing.
she got lost. She got lost in the flow. Like her gift was art, so she used to like lose, hours and hours because she was in the flow. And then people like kind of caught on and was like, wow, her artwork's so unique and it's so cool. So then like her oddness became her superpower. I feel like,
Yeah.
to make people feel good about themselves, it's like, oh wow, I see that, like, even though you felt this was a setback and it was a weird, you were a weirdo, like actually it kind of helped you thrive
Yeah.
and then became your superpower. So I feel like, I don't know, for me, maybe
Honestly,
like,
that's really, really, it's pretty accurate because like a one story that I could tell you is walking down the hallway it was in the 80s. I was in high school, and when everybody else in the 80s had the big poofy hair and the extreme makeup, and I was wearing my hair long and straight. I was wearing the gauze made in India shirts, flare leg, blue jeans, and moccasins. And this boy came up to me. He was a really popular boy, and I was just in my own world walking down the hallway. And I normally had a whole bunch of stuff on the strap of my purse that I would sell. It was real popular back in Arizona in the 80s to have roach clip hat pins, and so I would stay up all night, make roach clip hat pins, put them all down my bag. And so I was walking down the hallway dressed like a hippie with feathers all down the side of me, and people would say, "How much?" $5, $5, $5, and I would sell them as I was walking down the hall. Serious. It was so funny. And so this boy, he comes up to me, popular kid, puts one hand on each shoulder, and he says, "Natalie, a girl lost in the 60s somewhere." And then he just took off, and everybody was like looking at me, and I was like, "Oh no, this is not what I want. I did not want to be noticed." But now it's my most favorite story.
I love it. I love it. We have to acknowledge that entrepreneurial energy. I I developed a underground drug racket in elementary school. I I was selling sweet tarts. I had a big box of them from like Halloween. Like nobody came to get whatever, so I had all these sweet tarts with the three in them, and so I started selling them to kids for like 6 cents or 10 cents a piece or whatever, and 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 I had distribution channels through the classroom, so kids would be handing them under the tables. Kids would be handing me money, and I'd be digging in my bag and had them going in both directions and shit until I got caught. I got busted, got sent up the river. So it's really awesome to notice that kind of energy because that's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff, and it really is the joy of offering people solutions, offering people things they really want. And every good business is stuff people really want. If people aren't wanting what we're selling, like try to sell something else. That's why I say it doesn't matter what you're selling. You'll keep selling different shit for the rest of your life, but learning how to sell, learning how to acquire clients is a skill that will earn revenue for you for the rest of your lives. For real. Thank you so much. Did anybody have any questions about this? How this works? These answers? Anything we covered tonight? Tonight was a jam. I really enjoyed this tonight, y'all. This was good, and I
Well, I
feel
want
like
you
we're
to know that none of those answers are the same as what I wrote. What I wrote is on Soulstream, and so it's really interesting. And I'm gonna actually screenshot this.
yeah. Grab that real quick.
So this is better. And I can't wait to answer number 5 and number 6.
I love it. I love it. Well, the biggest takeaways to me tonight is this here. Everyone that's feeling overwhelmed, bring it back to this. This is all we're doing is we're trying to figure out how to make a post to get someone to DM us. Do you want this? Send me a DM. Do you want that? Send me a DM. And then we can get people onto the call. That's the simple, easy way. This is the larger, scalable, more professional way. And um, I can help anybody that wants to figure it out, figure it out. But if it's causing you stress and making you angry, focus on this. This making you angry and breaking down the possibility of getting to here is not going to help you. Just focus on getting people in DMs and onto the call. And I've gotten sales quicker this way sometimes than going through this process because then you got to wait for them to read the emails. A lot of people never read the emails. A lot of people never click the links. This is clunky. If you can do this, this is faster. And you can do this all day long. and it costs you nothing. Every single post can be an invitation to DM, and that's what the contentpreneur guys are doing now. Every post they do, they give people a reason to DM them, and every single person that DMs them becomes a prospect, and then they do everything they can to get them onto a call. And every person they start DMing, they never stop DMing them unless someone says stop it. They keep checking back a week, 2 weeks later. Hey, what's up? Do you still have time? Are you still interested in that change? They keep doing it. I went through this process probably 2 weeks before they got me into the program, right? This is all we need to focus on. That's one of the most important things from tonight. Another really important thing tonight is this sales call. The sales call, nope. The sales call script and the video.
Did you
Do
guys
not
download that?
overlook this. This is super valuable. You all got the link to that, and I already sent you a link to the video. Download it so that you have the video. It's something you're going to want to watch more than one time. Very often what I've done is I've literally put the video on half an hour before I do a sales call, and I just watch the whole thing right before I do a sales call.
So is
I
this
go in
is
with
this
all of those ideas fresh inside of me. What'd you say?
so the thing that you put in the chat, is that both a video and the
No,
script?
that's this document.
Okay.
I emailed you all the
Okay.
link to the sales, the recorded workshop video. I emailed that to you guys last night. It's on my Dropbox, and you just have to download it so that you have it forever. I won't leave it on my Dropbox forever, so download that so you have it.
Okay.
So that was the second important takeaway from tonight. And then the third most important takeaway from tonight is to understand that once we get people on to this discovery call, the most important thing we can do is understand who they really are and what their problem is so that we can know if we have a way to help them. And we can't help everybody, right? That was the third one. And then the fourth and final one was the biggest challenge in helping people is just to make them feel better about themselves. And if we can figure out how to make people feel better about themselves every time we talk to them, they almost always want more. So those are all of our takeaways for tonight. Did anybody have anything else?
Yeah, if you guys can give me some feedback, I'm having trouble figuring out how to link my mediumship and what happened to my life as a result of like all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a work in progress still, but like I still feel like growing up in a chaotic household and overcoming that by putting up healthy boundaries and playing sports and sort of like taking control of my life and like saying no, sort of putting myself first. I'm trying to figure out how this relates to my product. I'm like, I feel
So
like it's a little bit.
for the sake of right now, we're still assuming that you're offering mediumship.
Mhm.
Okay, so then my question would be, did you lose anybody growing up?
No, when I was a teenager, my grandfather died, and
Okay, and did
I
you
guess
have any experiences of communicating with him afterwards?
I don't remember it, but in a reading, my grandmother said, yeah, he used to say, I kind of remember, I would be like, Grandpa's here and he's happy, he's fine, like don't worry about him. So I kind of remember saying that. I don't know like if I really was really communicating with him, but I guess I was, according to
Tell me about this grandma thing. What happened there? That sounds important.
um well, I definitely know she had a gift. And then when my grandfather passed, I would go over her house a lot because I knew she was lonely. I knew she was sad, but I also loved spending time with her because I just got a lot of unconditional love from both of them. And so sometimes I would sense when she was sad, and I would be like, Grandpa's here, he's still around, like don't be sad. Um, he's still with you. And so I don't know if I truly was talking to him because I do kind of remember that, but my grandmother's come back through reading. She's like, you used to say this stuff like all the time, and so I'm pretty sure I was communicating with him, but I'm not
Hmm.
certain. because it's like
Okay.
different than like nowadays. I know exactly, you know, like I know I'm
Right.
truly,
Well, but all skills, all abilities start somewhere, and that definitely
yeah.
sounds like a beginning of it. If you can find any emotional moments inside of that, that could be important. Did you have any other experiences with anybody doing a reading for you, or any other people that passed? Like, how did you get into it? How did you discover that you had that ability?
I went to a reading and that grandfather came through with like very specific proof. Like he used to say this thing like, "Do you want a knuckle sandwich?" Like if we were being bad and cheating at cards and stuff like that. And he would literally like, "Do you want a knuckle sandwich?" And so when I got a reading, this woman's like, "I don't know what I'm doing." She's like, "He keeps doing like your grandfather keeps doing this," and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly what that means. It means, do you want a knuckle sandwich?" And that was so specific, that proof, that I was like, "Oh my god, this is definitely real." Like, and I want to know more about this. Like, so it was kind of like I was rediscovering it. If I
Mm-hmm.
really, if I really was channeling, you know, as a young child, it was like, holy shit, like this is awesome. This is amazing.
That knuckle sandwich moment needs to be a part of your story. That was a fulcrum moment. That's a moment where you knew something was real that you hadn't really understood before. That was pivotal.
She doesn't, yeah, like she didn't know what it meant, but I knew
Mm-hmm.
exactly what it meant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, this is so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that'll be one of the pivotal moments for you. And then what happened in your life as a result of that? How did that affect your trajectory?
Yeah, I think it brought me closer to spirit because, you know, Catholicism kind of went back and forth, like love hate relationship with
Mm-hmm.
religion because of, you know, Catholics.
Mm-hmm. So discovering that communicating with dead people was real ignited a more authentic version of
Mm,
spirituality for you. That's a very valuable effect.
I love that one. Spiritual
And that is
and
one
personal.
of the future benefits you can allude to for anybody doing a reading with you, is that it can open you up to a new experience of spirituality. That's a really valuable proposition.
I love that because I do want to yeah, I want people to like be able to continue this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
their own journey with spirit.
Amen.
Continue. I love that. Their own. Awesome.
Okay, and then let me go back to here, and I want you guys to write this down. This is all we need right now. Is you guys want to find you want to specify your irresistible offer, okay? And all that is a headline. It's a 1 to 2 sentence description. This is everything that's on your landing page, and bullet points of what they get. Okay? This is your irresistible offer. This is what I want everybody to have by this weekend. You don't have to make a landing page. You don't have to have system to do this. This is what you're going to use to make your offer, okay? I want everybody to have this by this weekend, and then what we're going to start doing is driving traffic to speak to us on DM with this offer through our posts, through text to our friends, through social media, through whatever. We're going to start getting people to try, we're going to start trying to get people to actually DM us and begin conversations. If you need to know how to do the headline, I have the formula for it in one of the Sacred Abundance Google Docs. I'll find that for you. There's a whole formula of like insert this, insert that, how to find your headline. 1 to 2 sentence sentence description, and then bullet points of what they get and whatever your freebie is. This is your freebie irresistible offer. We're not trying to sell anything yet. We got to try to give stuff away first. And then we want to start driving traffic. We're just going to focus on the DM. If Natalie and Shannon are comfortable with system, and you guys, and I can give you guys a little bit of help of how to actually drive traffic to system and keep track of if people are signing up there, we can do that. But it's way more important to me that everybody understand this process than think this is what we're really here for. We're here for this process, how to make an offer, get them into a conversation, and then get them onto a call. That's the whole game right there. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and playing and sharing and being honest. It's been amazing. And next week's our last official one, but I'm going to do at least one or two more where we're going to consider those like literal on the ground workshop, and we're going to see like how many calls we can get in a week. We're going to see how many we can convert to whatever it is, whether we're trying to actually sell something in those discovery calls or just get them to commit to something further, even if that thing is free. So I did start doing that. I started testing. I was having trouble getting people to commit to spending hundreds of dollars on that first phone call. And so what I started doing was coming up with more hurdles for them to jump. So I would offer them something else free, but they had to do something to get that free thing. And then when they did it, then I would offer them the next step, and they had to pay for that next step. So there's a lot of ways to skin that cat. You know what I'm saying? And you just want to set up ways to test each part. You want to test your message to get people into a DM convo. You want to test how to get them out of that DM onto an actual phone call or a Zoom. Once you get people into the discovery call, you want to test how you're going about figuring out who they are and what their problems are. Then you want to test how you're going about closing them. And so every part of that process, that's how they become systems, is to test them. And we're always refining them. We're always learning better ways. And we just keep refining. Welcome to the process, you all. And thank you so much for playing. And remember, the best way to win is to just feel good about yourself. There you go. That's the best way to win. Just feel good about yourself. I love it. And Marvelous asked today, she said, would you say that abundance is a direct correlation to self-love? And I went inside to answer, and the answer was basically it's the exact same energy underlying it. It's like it's a different word on the surface, self-love and abundance. They're different words, but the energy of the experience is the exact same. And what they said was, you can take a person who truly loves themselves and they can be completely happy homeless. And they said you can take a person who's truly abundant and they can feel completely content by themselves in a cave for years. So you don't have one and lack the other. Like if you have abundance, you have an abundance of love. And if you feel love, you experience abundance, you know? So seeing those two are parallel to each other, they're both states of being. That's been a very powerful shift for me that's only come through actually doing this course and watching what you ladies are going through. So thank you again for all the openness, the honesty, and just do what you can, ladies. The abundance is yours. You can receive as much of it. You can play with as much of it as you need to at any point, but just don't forget to love yourself in the process. Okay, like that's the most important thing. Thank you, ladies, so much. Y'all have a wonderful one, and I'll see you Sunday night for session 4. And watch that sales video, please. Let me know if you have any questions.
Okay.
Bye-bye.